Our retrospective on the DC animated movie universe takes us to 2018's Death of Superman, directed by someone very familiar with this material, Sam Liu. He's been here for quite some time as part of the DCAMU, and this adapts the very famous 1990s storyline, The Death of Superman. I remember I was around in the 90s, and there were very few comic book storylines that were hyped up quite as big as this one from DC. I just remember every single magazine, like a video game magazine or anything, posters everywhere. When I would go to the comic book store, it was all talking about the death of Superman, which of course would happen at the hands of Doomsday in the original comics, and this was adapted, albeit very, very differently, into Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and that's how Zack Snyder was able to write out Superman at the end of that movie to bring him back in Justice League. Zack Snyder obviously had to make changes, and with the DCAMU, they have to make changes too, because the DCAMU movies kind of take a hybrid approach where they have concepts and storylines borrowed from the New 52 version of the comic book canon or whatever, and they kind of combine that with previous storylines or other storylines to make everything kind of tie together. Because this is not even the first time they've adapted this into an animated film. There's another movie that came out years prior to this that I had on DVD for years called Superman Doomsday. And that was like the first movie that really adapted the Doomsday storyline. And I liked that movie quite a bit, in fact. In fact, I may go in here and review this thing at some point here on the channel to give you my full thoughts on it. So obviously, as I'm watching The Death of Superman, this movie, the 2018 one, I'm going to be making comparisons here and there between the two. Because they both adapt pretty much the basic premise, which is Doomsday comes to Earth, fights Superman, they both die in battle, Superman dies, and that leaves the world in a very, let's just say, a dreary and an empty place. Now, with Superman Doomsday, they actually resolve that storyline within the confines of that film. Like, he dies, and he would, of course, come back within that movie, and it was played up very differently, although there were similar aspects to what they did in the comics. However, with the DCAMU, the Death of Superman movie is actually the first in two parts of the story, because the next movie after this is the Constantine film, but the one after that is Reign of the Supermen. And Reign of the Supermen picks up right after this film. Well, it's 6 months after this movie. And that movie covers the second half of the story, which is the mysterious arrival of 4 different characters claiming to be Superman after the death of Clark Kent. That is going to be talked about by me here on the channel very, very soon. So I'll be talking about that. And I was very excited, by the way, because I really wanted to watch how they would adapt Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen. And just talking about Death of Superman, I really liked this film. I really, really did enjoy this version of it. As far as whether I liked it more than Superman Doomsday, I think this one's probably a bit more faithful. But Superman Doomsday felt like a continuation of the old animated Superman series, the Bruce Timm one, but it wasn't. It's like its own thing. And that one came first. This one, I think, did feel a bit more mature. This one also incorporated the League, and that to me was a big deal, because when Doomsday was first kind of coming around in the comics, what made him so powerful is that he kind of gets stronger as he fights, and he fought the Justice League first. And that's pretty much what happened in this movie, which would eventually lead to the battle with Superman. Now, what I thought was pretty cool about this movie is this is the first movie, and we've already been talking about a lot of these DCAMU movies. This is the first film that actually is a dedicated Superman story, because we've seen him with the League, and we've seen him, with Batman, and, we've seen different movies in this shared universe that focus on certain characters. I mentioned Batman, The Flash. This is a Superman story, and so because of that, we have a focus not only on Superman, but also we see Jimmy Olsen, we see Perry, and we see Lois Lane, who really becomes like the secondary main character. We've seen Lex Luthor as well, but he didn't really have as much of a prominent role in the past as he's doing here in this movie. But at the same time, it felt so very well interwoven that it felt like a Justice League movie too, because the rest of the league, they're all there. The Flash is here, Green Lantern is here, Batman's here. You know, the people who we've been following for a long time in the DCAMU, they all come back here. And it was really refreshing to see them all kind of in this shared universe. You know, we could take time out to focus on the Suicide Squad, or to focus on the Teen Titans or Damian Wayne or whatever. But here we have what I was looking forward to is the Justice League together. And I really appreciate that. But the real story here was the story of Clark Kent trying to balance his life as Superman and with Lois Lane, because this is the movie where he actually confesses to Lois Lane that he is Superman. Like, this is the first time he's done it in this universe, following up on the fact that, and it was mentioned in the film, that him and Wonder Woman had like a thing going earlier in the DCAMU. Here, we have Superman, you know, and Clark Kent, and that whole dichotomy that we've all kind of grown to love from Superman stories. It really does take a front seat here, and it was good to see in the DCAMU where things are a bit more adult, and there were phrases and relationships here that were more than just, you know, kind of the puppy love that we've seen in the past. There's some real mature stuff going on here, like, you know, Lois Lane meeting Clark's parents, like that. I mean, it's been done before for, not saying it's R-rated, but I mean, the way it's portrayed here felt more real. So I really did appreciate the script, and I really appreciated the action sequences here. Seeing Doomsday battle the League, I thought it was some great fights, and seeing Superman fight, you know, Doomsday, I thought was great too, because granted, I feel like the fight in the Superman Doomsday movie was a lot more brutal, right? This one was a little bit quicker paced and had a bit more variety to it, a bit more nuance to it. You know, now when it comes to criticisms of this, I do have some criticisms. I feel like in the Doomsday movie, I think Doomsday was built up a bit more. I think here they kind of rush him in. Granted, it's not really his story. I mean, it is his story, but it's not his story. You know, it's Clark's story. I was hoping for a bit more build-up as far as who Doomsday really is. That there wasn't enough of that for me, I don't think. And also, I don't, and maybe I just noticed it now, or what, maybe because I'm comparing it to Doomsday, but Lex Luthor's voice, man, I'm not a huge fan of the DCAMU Lex Luthor voice. I mean, my favorite Lex Luthor voice will always be Clancy Brown from the Bruce Timm Show. Like that deep, you know, confident but prickish, you know, voice that is Lex Luthor. Like that, and some of it might be nostalgia. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think he's the best Lex Luthor we've ever had. I mean, it's just like how Mark Hamill is an amazing Joker when it comes to the animated stuff. I think that Clancy Brown fits that for Lex Luthor. Also, interesting casting when, I know Jerry O'Connell plays Clark, but Rebecca Romijn, like the same one that plays Mystique, like the pretty famous actress Rebecca Romijn, voices Lois Lane, and she did a great job. I mean, I've talked to a lot of voice actors that I've interviewed in my career, especially over on Geekdom 101, my main channel, and they always tell me, like, hey, like, the secret to being a great voice actor is to be a great actor. So anybody who can get any actual, like, acting chops, whether it be TV, movies, or even stage, it's going to help you become a better voice actor. And Rebecca Romijn emotes Lois Lane really, really well. I was very impressed with this Lois Lane. But at the same time, the Doomsday movie also did a great service to Lois Lane's character. Seeing the Justice League fight Doomsday was a real treat. And the action sequences, like seeing Diana go in there and the Green Lantern, like, that was all good stuff. And really, even though I think that the Superman Doomsday movie, the previous one, the fight seemed more brutal and the way he died seemed more poetic, this was brutal. Like, this was brutal in the sense of, like, gory. Like, he snaps Doomsday's neck, bro, and I'm like, damn, you know. And then he gets stabbed in the chest. Like, it was just so... It was powerful. And then at the end, you have the funeral for Superman, and they show all the heroes there, and they're all, like, pretty damn depressed about, you know, just the fact that their boy is dead. And, you know, they cover a lot more in the next movie about, like, the world without Superman. At least I'm assuming they did. I haven't actually seen it yet. But here it like the story I think was good, and I was wondering how they were going to do the fight because, like I said, the Superman Doomsday fight from the Doomsday movie the old one felt more epic. This one felt more like just brutal. Like, I guess the other one was more brutal in that they were pounding each other for a long time, but in this one it was just more like they are really hitting each other, and obviously the evolution of animation helped with that. On top of that, I also want to add that watching this also made me kind of bummed out because had they done Doomsday like this in one of the Justice League movies, like instead of having the Snyder, like what Zack Snyder did by having Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman fight Doomsday and BVS and having Superman die like that, if they had it like this to where he fought the League first, they established the League, he fights the League first, then Superman comes in there and gets killed, like, number one, it would have been more accurate to the comic, and number two, it wouldn't have been such a waste of Doomsday, I don't think. I think it would have been built up better, and it would have been more effective, I think. Seeing the kind of Doomsday showing up, and with the Atlanteans, and LexCorp wants to get involved, and then everybody starts fighting him, like, that was good build-up. I still wish Doomsday had more of a backstory here, and we saw more of his backstory, but ultimately, he's just there to kind of, I guess, be the catalyst to kill Superman. We have the mid-credit and post-credit scenes that tease the next movie. Not the Constantine one, but the Reign of the Superman movie, which I'm going to be covering after the Constantine one, because I'm doing these in order by release. So, we know, I mean, if you know about the Reign of the Superman storyline, you kind of know what's coming, but I don't know what their take on it's going to be here. So I'm very excited to see that, because even though a lot of people say that Superman storyline, that this one right here killed DC Comics in the 90s. I've seen a lot of comic book fans say that. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I see that death in comics is kind of not that impactful, even though I don't know if it ever really has been. Characters always come back. At the same time, like, I don't know. I have a lot of nostalgia for this, and I do like the idea of Superman dying, like the way that he died, and I do like Reign of the Superman. Like, I really like that storyline. From the comics. And I like this idea of, like, who is the real Superman? Like, what really happened after Clark's death? And I think that is something I'm looking forward to covering. Also, I like that Star Labs is already teasing, like, Apocalypse. Like, in the movie, they talk about, like, Apocalypse is, like, the planet Apocalypse. And obviously, at some point, Darkseid's probably coming back. I'm going to guess. I mean, I haven't seen the finale. I know Apocalypse War is the last one, but they also mentioned Darkseid here, so they're already planting seeds for where they're going. So I feel like starting with this movie, it feels like, I could be wrong, but it feels like they're already building towards a big climax coming up very soon, by planting the seeds, of what's going to happen, with the big finale with Darkseid, So again, I feel like a lot of what Snyder did was kind of modeling this, but he was going in his own direction with the movies he might never even make after Justice League Snyder Cut, with the time travel and everything. But we already saw some time travel in the first DCAMU movie. So they like to move stuff around and play with it, and I'm fine with it as long as the story's good, right? So bottom line, I liked Death of Superman a lot, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here. What did you think? Let me know. We'll talk soon.